T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
Wow. Okay. I'm J-Boy.
T-Dog.
Yes, sir. Sports and other stuff. Tonight, we're talking NFL. NFL, that's right. Baker Mayfield is renewed. Tom Brady is honeydewed. And the Big Ten becomes unscrewed.
Nice.
What does this all mean? Well, that's why you've joined us, and that's why you've wasted at least 30 minutes tonight to listen to this program. So, Lugs, T-Dog, good to see you boys. Baker is a mover and a shaker, and really just trying to outrun the Undertaker. Mayfield is named the starting QB of the Carolina Panthers. It's a new lease on life, I say. Lugs, what do you say?
Well, good for him, because I honestly didn't think he would find a team to play for. It still ain't going to change Carolina's fortunes. Baker will blow up, I predict, by about the third or fourth game. He in NFL reminds me of what's that guy in NBA, Ben Simmons.
Yep.
Nobody gets along with Ben. I mean, all that Baker has to do is just show up, and he is disliked. So best of luck, Baker, but you ain't going to be there long.
Shake and Bake Baker is out, says Lugs.
Just because we got to keep it consistent. Lugs, who do you dislike more, Baker Mayfield or Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, going into this season, we need to get that squared away right away.
Yeah, it's very important. I need to know the pecking order.
Right, the order of deference, right.
But
not preference.
Lugs might be right. His teammates might not like him, and I know sometimes it feels like we're down on him when we don't like him. I'm happy for Baker Mayfield. I think he's a talented quarterback. I think he's in a spot where, if we're looking at the pros, he has DJ Moore, who I think is a star wide receiver who's been disguised by bad quarterback play his whole career. I think possibly Baker Mayfield is good enough to take that veil off of him. They have Christian McCaffrey, who at one time was a great running back who's always been injured the last 2 years.
At one time. So you already say he's not?
I think if he can stay healthy, which is a big
That's
if.
cold.
I think he's played 6 or 7 games in the last 2 years,
True.
which, considering how many games are in a regular season,
True.
That's not a lot. But I think he can. And Robbie Anderson, obviously he's not a star, but he has been a very good, reliable wide receiver starter for most of his tenure in the league. Terrence Marshall, the guy that drafted a year or two ago, he has shown potential, particularly in OTAs and minicamp. I think he's been nicked up during training camp. And they also have Rashad Higgins on the team, who he has a chemistry with going back to Cleveland. And I think the other thing is, even though he had some success with Cleveland, they had him play essentially like an I form, a lot of play action and bootleg rollout. And I don't think that's his bread and butter. If you go back to Oklahoma, I think he's a kind of quasi spread and shred guy. Ben McAdoo's offense is probably going to have 3 receivers out there a lot. I think it plays to more like the style which he prefers to play. I'm not going to say he's ever going to be like a Mahomes or, a Josh Allen, who can do it that way. But I think at least it plays to if you're going to get the best out of Baker Mayfield, this is an opportunity to see it with McAdoo's offense. I will say the big con is you look at that offensive line. I mean, it's just rough. And then you pile on top of it, they face Cleveland. They face the Saints, the Browns, the Steelers, the Rams, the 49ers. All those teams can bring heat. So it's a bad. Yeah, it's a bad on top of bad. And then, like we talked about, I've cashed out on Matt Rule. I've invested in the college Matt Rule maybe next year. I've cashed out on Matt Rule. I put too many chips in him. I was wrong on that one. I'll eat crow on that one.
Matt Rule at Colorado State or somewhere like that.
And that's the thing. I think he might be out within a month of the season, and then there's an interim coach, and we don't know how the interim coach feels about Baker. They might not like him. They might have like soft, warm fuzzies for Sam Darnold. So Sam Darnold might get in there.
Well, and
so
Lovie Smith is taken, so he can't be the interim, right? Lovie, he's already spoken.
No, he's.
But hey,
St. Nick is at Texans.
I know. So, Lugs, though, doesn't Baker have a chip on his shoulder? Number one. Number two, how strong is that arm after all the offseason stuff?
Well, yeah, he does have a chip on his shoulder. I mean, he's always played that way, and that's fine. I just think if Baker were half as skilled as Baker thinks he is, then they would have something truly. But I until he shows me that he is mature enough to be an NFL quarterback that is consistent on the field as he is off the field, running his mouth and his Twitter account and all of that. I don't have any faith in him. I just don't. Prove me wrong, Baker. That's all I can say.
Baker, just send us a note. Just some feedback on the podcast.
Are you sure you don't dislike him more than Kirk Cousins?
Wow.
Well, see, Kirk Cousins has had good teams to play with consistently, in Minnesota, and he's never done anything, and he won't do anything this year. He's going to choke just like he always does.
Don't get ahead of yourself. We're still talking about Baker Mayfield here. For crying out loud, we can't have like Kirk Cousins 20 minutes every week. You know what I mean? Okay, question though. What about the Progressive commercials with Baker and his wife? Over, under, gonna happen, not gonna happen?
Nah, please.
Come on. You don't think so?
They're going to age as well as those Robert Griffin III Pepsi commercials.
Oh, man. Throwing
Yeah.
poor RG3, you're throwing him under the bus after he blew out his leg and a knee and everything. Oh.
I don't dislike RG3. I'm just saying he got those commercials right out of the box, and you saw Pepsi drop him like a bad habit. You want to talk about rubbing salt in the wound, where literally your leg gets exploded, and Pepsi's like, "Peace out. We're gonna jump on the next hotness."
RG3, nothing. All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the next topic. Like a genie in the bottle, Tom Brady, poof, disappeared for 11 days and poof, returned to training camp. Our crack intern team has been all over this from the beginning. Let's break it down. Lugs, what do you think? You had some ideas on what he did. What do you think he did?
I have 3 ideas, actually. First, family vacation, maybe. Second, hair transplant operation. Third, much needed stay in a hyperbaric chamber with the stuffed Bubbles chimp that Michael Jackson had. I mean, who knows?
What?
Who knows? I suspect he's with the wife and kids in wherever, Bahamas, Aruba, Jamaica, Kokomo, whatever.
It is confirmed he did not do the Masked Singer, so we do know that. But T-Dog, your thoughts on Tom Brady and the 11 days of mystery?
The thing that's crazy to me is I don't know if we talked about this. I felt like it almost had to be. I'm glad it wasn't this situation. I almost felt it almost had to be like someone in his family was sick, because for him to take off like a weekend of training camp. And I get it. I know he's 45. He's the greatest of his generation. Most people say the greatest of all time. He's played with these wide receivers and stuff. That he's taking snaps directly from someone he really doesn't know. Right. Jensen is out. They lost Stinney, who is competing, probably was going to be a starting guard. Their interior, when you look at it, like the one place quarterbacks really don't like getting pressures up the middle. Well, you kind of look at how their offensive line is geared right now. They're going to get pressure up the middle. Teams are going to send wave after wave of pressure. They're going to not let him step in the pocket. He's going to have to take his 45-year-old legs and do rollouts, or at least move to the left, move to the right. He's not going to be able to move up a lot, it feels like. I just don't. But it looks like it's supposedly the last thing I've read is supposedly he was reportedly vacationing with his family in an exclusive resort in the Bahamas.
Right.
that seems just very odd. And again, maybe these they could cost a lot, even for Giselle and Tom Brady. They couldn't back out of it because
Plus, it's the height of the vacation season. Come on, you do that in October, dude.
Yeah,
January.
yeah. Just take a game off.
Right.
Well, she probably booked it in his 2 minutes of retirement.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I forgot. And she couldn't get it returned. Right. Airbnb won't give the money back. They won't give it back. All right, but I have a question about that. Don't you think he needs training camp for those 45-year-old legs more than other people just to get in some kind of, better shape? Now, I know he's in good shape. Don't get me wrong, but football shape.
See, I think that Brady keeps himself in shape at this point. When you look at the number of people that have been injured in training camp, not in preseason, but not in training camp, it's crazy. I don't think I would have him there to begin with. I would get him to work out on the side with the receivers and maybe a little bit with that center, but
you're saying no contact, no scrimmage, nothing.
I don't buy that just because they already don't touch the quarterback when it comes to. I'm not saying he has to play a preseason game. Like in training camp, they have on jerseys that indicate don't touch them.
But those
But remember Teddy Bridgewater,
non-contact injury.
He was going back and he twisted around so his foot was facing the other way.
Tom Brady could have done that running on the sands of the Bahamas if that's where he was at. I mean, if we're talking about the Teddy Bridgewater, if we're going to use that as a debate point, like Teddy Bridgewater was so freakish it'd be like, Tom Brady decided to step outside and 8 lightning bolts shot him right in the face. I mean, I'm not saying it's the same as like high percentage, but it feels like Teddy Bridgewater's thing was freakish. It's sad for him because obviously it completely changed the trajectory of his career and possibly the Vikings.
Yeah, but freak is what happens a lot.
But again, if we're doing that, then no one should ever touch a ball because they're gonna get injured. I mean, it happens. I mean,
well, no, we were talking specifically about Tom, and Tom being he's not the oldest to ever play. I guess George Blanda still holds that honor, but
he's getting close.
Well, to be I think a starter. I think Blanda came in during games.
He was a kicker at the end.
Yeah.
But he would still come into games and I think play quarterback, but I don't think he ever started at 45.
And what about the guy who just retired from LA? Was he 41? The lineman? I can't think of his name. It just retired.
Andrew Whitworth.
Yeah.
Andrew Whitworth, he was 40 to 4. He's probably 41 now.
Okay. Do you ever hear this? Like, I remember when Big Papi retired from the Boston Red Sox, Ortiz. He said, I'd love to play the game more, but my feet are killing me and can't take it. So, how does Brady, I mean, legs are one thing, you can condition those, but feet you can't do a whole lot with or two. How does he keep that going? It got to be painful. I mean, after all these years, don't you think?
I think feet would be more of a lineman issue. But, yeah, I mean, he's out there for sure. I don't know. I've never seen him take any low shots, but, hey, hats off to him for being out there.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they invented the rule after he did get shot low by Bernard Pollard. That's why guys aren't supposed to go below the knee. It's the Tom Brady rule. It literally is the Tom Brady rule. So after the 2008 season when he got decimated by Bernard Pollard. So.
Okay. Bernard got his bonus off of that deal.
But I want to talk about since we're talking about Brady.
Yeah,
I want to talk about the crazy incident where during a UFC telecast broadcast of I think it was 278. I like how they're just using numbers.
It's like our show 137.
Yeah. Okay. So, but Dana White was on, and he said he almost brokered a deal for Brady and Gronk to go to the Raiders in 2001, but John Gruden blew it up. I just want to call bull on a few factors here. First, John Gruden loved old quarterbacks. I mean, Rich Gannon, he made into an MVP. Yep. He won a Super Bowl with Brad Johnson. All right. I think if Tom Brady looked at that roster, because again, we got to give credit where credit's due. Tom Brady's a smart man. The reason he went to the Buccaneers, he saw like how loaded they were on defense, how loaded they were on offense. They just needed a good quarterback. So like that's why he went there. And, you know, again, I'm not saying the Raiders were devoid of talent, but they didn't have like a Super Bowl level team in terms of roster. And I think one of the other factors that people are forgetting, I don't think he was going that far west because he has a son with Bridget Moynihan.
Yep. And
he wants to stay close. He wants to stay on the East Coast or Central. I think that was the farthest he would be willing to go. And also, Brady isn't leaving Belichick for Gruden. I mean, both those guys are maniacs, and one has better results at the end of the day. He's not leaving a guy who gets better results as a maniac and go to a guy who's not as efficient as a maniac. Like Bruce Arians is known as a good coach who knows how to kind of take it easy and enjoy life to some degree, unlike those two. And then I think the last thing is, you know, the Raiders already had Darren Waller. They're not going to spend big money to bring in Gronk on top of Darren Waller. And I just think, you know, Dana White must have been locked in one of Joe Rogan's sensory deprivation tanks too long. And he tried to open up his third eye and ended up talking out his ass.
Woohoo! T-Dog laying that down right there. Talking out his rear end.
Wow. Dana White, I mean, on a good day, does anybody really listen to Dana White? You know what I mean? He always comes off to me like a boy that's had a few pops before he got in front of the microphone.
That's illegal. That's illegal. All right, let's talk about the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes for just a second, because there's a little chink in the armor. Lugs, you'll like this. The Vikes aren't too excited about Kellen Mond, apparently, because they traded away. T-Dog, you can fill in on the details. I forget who they got, but they got another second QB2, second stringer. So are the days numbered? Are the Vikings really looking at options for Lugs' favorite player, number 8 in the program, Kirk Cousins? What do you think?
One would hope so. Go ahead, Dog.
They got him. They got Nick Mullins from the Raiders.
That's it.
The reason they got Nick Mullins is because of, like you said, clearly. I watched the preseason game, and obviously I was a big fan of Kellen Mond.
Right, we thought he was the future, right?
I'm not saying he can't turn it around, but man, if you saw those 2 interceptions he threw, both of them were not only were they bad decisions, they were lollipops. They were thrown up in the air. So it's just it's one thing to throw 2 picks, but it's also like the trajectory, the velocity. You're like, no, we can't do it. There's a lot of people like Lugs that dislike Kirk Cousins. To be fair to Lugs, if Kirk Cousins doesn't do it this year, it really is on him, because I think finally he has a coach who really does believe in him. Maybe that'll change by the end of the year.
And brought him back for one more year too, by the way.
They re-upped him. Yeah. So and I think just with Jefferson essentially being in the Cooper Kupp role, they have Edelman. And like I said, I'll keep bringing up his name. KJ Osborne, I think, is really underrated, the wide receiver. So like they have 3 good receivers. They have Dalvin Cook out of the backfield, who maybe they take less carries off his load, but they use him more as a receiver, which he's very adept at doing. I think they're going to put more on his plate, and they're not going to be afraid to unchain this offense. And you hear the guys talk about it. It feels a lot like when Sean McVay took over from Fisher. You can tell the players are jazzed to be a part of this offense. I'm not going to say it's going to work out, but you can clearly tell they're going to go for it this year. And to be fair to Lugs, this is possibly the swan song of Kirk Cousins, or this is the awakening of Kirk Cousins.
Turn out the lights, the party's over.
It's the fork in the road for Kirk Cousins, is what I'm saying.
When you get there.
The Slauson cutoff.
Yeah, for that. Exactly right. Yeah. Well, this could be it then for our friend, number 8. All right, Lugs, you got any of the sports of yesteryear ready and queued up on VTR2?
Sure.
Let's do it.
We can do it.
Here it comes, sports of yesteryear. We'll talk about some other stuff after this, but first he's going to take the way back machine. As that guy Berman does. Here it comes. Take it away, Lugs.
1933, first televised boxing match. 6-round exhibition at Broadcasting House in London between middleweights Archie Sexton and Laurie Rattery. The bout aired on BBC TV. 1947, first base bit Little League World Series. Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Maynard Midgets beat Lock Haven All-Stars 16-7. 1964, the St. Louis Cardinals are 11 games back at this point, and they go on to win the World Series 4-3 over the New York Yankees. The Cards' victory upset friend of the show Roger Taylor and made him a lifelong Yankee fan. Woo! 1985, Louisville's Paul Hornung is awarded $1,160,000 by a Louisville court. The court said the NCAA couldn't bar the Golden Boy as a college football analyst for betting on games. And in 2020, British Open, women's golf, Royal Troon Golf Club. Sophia Popov of Germany claims her first title by 2 strokes from Thailand's Jasmine Shwamapura at number 304. Popov is the lowest ranked player to ever win a major. She celebrated with vodka instead of champagne. And that's sports of yesteryear for this little jaunt.
Thank you, Lugs. I have a couple of questions, though. Okay, really? Was that Shamapur or Chief Nakahoma?
Hey.
Remember the Chief
Could've
would come
gone
out?
either way.
Yeah. And then, you know who was on that famous 1964 Cardinals team? St. Louis Cardinals?
Lance Allworth? I don't know.
Bob Uecker, the Uke.
Was he?
Yes, sir. He was backup catcher on the 64 Cardinals. And finally, please explain the name of the team, the Maynard Midgets. Is that right? Or were they the Majets and you just mispronounced that maybe?
No, it was the Maynard Midgets. Yeah,
T-Dog's about to blow out a gasket on that one. Maynard Midgets. And where were they from? Maynard?
Ohio.
Ohio. Okay.
Yeah, they grow them fine up there in Maynard.
I was going to say, I guess something in the water, there's no calcium in that water or fluoride or something, and just kind of come out small.
Yeah.
All right, great. Speaking of the Big Ten, speaking of Ohio, let's talk about the Big Ten. They've got a new media rights package, and it's massive. And T-Dog, you had some observations, and I think you were backed up by our research staff with some stats and statistics and things that go bump in the night. But anyway, talk to us about the Big Ten.
That's right. A lot of these notes, I will say, comes from the Athletics, Richard Deitch. The certain ones that just really piqued my interest. The one thing that was interesting is Amazon was willing to pay more than CBS and NBC for the 3:30 spot and the primetime spot. And obviously, the Big Ten declined. I thought that was interesting.
Wow, that would have been interesting. Amazon football. Wow.
Yeah, but so both of them ended up paying $350 million a year for a 7-year deal. Both of them. The Big Ten will now be on broadcast TV from noon until 11 p.m.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yes, it's crazy how much they're going to dominate just in terms of just coverage from midday till the sun goes down.
Does that work out to what, noon 4 and 7 or noon 4 and 8, something like that?
Yes.
Game time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. So and then NBC will have the primetime deal, and they'll also get 8 exclusive streaming games that'll be on Peacock. So, yeah. Well, it gets worse in terms of that. The Big Ten championship games will air exclusively on Paramount Plus in 2024 and 2028. Yeah, this is where it gets dicey.
Pay-per-view.
Luckily, if you for whatever reason don't have broadcast, CBS will simulcast their games on Paramount Plus. So there's a big plus for people that for whatever reason don't have access to broadcast. So that'll be helpful to those people. And it's just I just look at it, and it's just crazy how well they map this out, I think. And I do wonder though, I know they have a lot of sub channels and stuff. How are they going to, because that's only 3 games, and I know we got 8 exclusive games. Are certain games just not going to be covered at all?
Good question. Big Ten Network still? Maybe?
Well, I'm just saying, Big Ten Network, and I guess maybe, with, again, because Peacock's exclusive is only 8 games.
I see what you're saying.
So are certain games just not going to be covered?
No, I would doubt that because there's just too much money to be made with betting and everything for eyeballs not to be on games.
But with even adding the two teams from the Pac-12, USC and UCLA, we're up to 16 teams, right? So, and again, and obviously this is not the case because they have games outside of Big Ten play. If they just play the teams each other exclusively, that's 8 games, right? If they're just playing interconference, that's 8 games. So obviously, if you're talking noon, 3:30, and 8:00, that's 3 games. And then let's say the exclusives. Obviously, like they said 8 games. They didn't say 8 games, like multiple games during that day. Like there's one exclusive game for Peacock. So that still leaves you. I don't know what I'm saying. There's like 3 to 4 games, out there.
That won't happen.
And obviously, it's not going to be on ESPN because obviously ESPN said. Yeah, ESPN and Big Ten, they are not breaking bread anymore. So who's going to pick up those extra games is what I'm asking. Again, will it be on True TV? Are we going to treat this like it's NCAA?
Let's get to True TV's program schedule.
I think that might be it.
But mostly you're just worried where your Hoosiers are going to be, aren't you? Because those are the games that won't make the big stick.
Oh, they're definitely not going to be.
You're not going to be on the big stick, are they?
No.
But honestly, other than Ohio State and Michigan, who is really viable? I don't think Penn State is.
Wisconsin, Iowa, maybe.
Come on, guys, come on. Yes, no, come on. Michigan State.
Wisconsin. Okay, let me just say Wisconsin. 4 hours later, they're still trying to run that off tackle play, but they can't quite remember it. They got the big old mules up front, but they got nobody behind them to run, and that's all they do. Boring as football. Iowa, boring football. Come on. SEC just totally obliterates the Big 10, Big 16, whatever you want to call it when it comes to watchability.
What are you talking about? Man, Big 10 country is angry with you.
All I'm saying is you put Ohio State up against Georgia, Georgia will clean their clocks. Put them up against Alabama. Put Michigan up against anybody at this point because last year was a fluke. I'm sorry. I'm not a Big 10, Big 16 fan.
I'll put it this way. Michigan and Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State have played, I think, entertaining versions of football. I will agree with you at times, Wisconsin, on offense, they can be boring. I mean, when they have a great back like Melvin Gordon or Jonathan Taylor, I think it's fun to watch. And also with their defense now coordinated by Jim Leonard, they're a pretty fun defense to watch. Iowa, I will agree with you on Iowa. I'm not gonna stand up for Iowa. Iowa's offense is truly one of the hardest things to watch. Kurt Ferentz is a great coach, but man, is it hard to watch. You're forgetting though, Nebraska. I know they haven't been good, but come on, Lugs. Nebraska is like, I know they've been bad, and hopefully they turn around the corner someday. They have a loyal fan base.
Oh,
in Minnesota,
no
doubt. They've played some a relatively fun style of play in the last few years. So, I look, are some of those teams as good as some of the SEC teams? No, but like I'll put it this way too. Some of those SEC teams that have like some brand recognition that aren't Alabama and aren't LSU and
Tennessee.
even LSU at times. Yeah, Tennessee. There's some pretty putrid things in there too. So
what Lugs basically was saying that when they were running that offense at Wisconsin, it wasn't Jonathan Taylor. It was Jonathan Taylor Thomas running the ball right there for you guys. You remember him from Home Improvement? Remember that little kid? He's
who could forget him?
About 52 years old now. Okay, I want to talk briefly about the preseason and some thoughts. Lugs, you have any thoughts about some of the games you saw this year? It's, preseason NFL football.
I will admit that I just perused at a sports bar a few of the games for about 20 minutes or so. I didn't see anything that just was off the charts to me. The Bengals, their kicker, again,
Yeah.
was pretty amazing in the game I saw.
McPherson.
Yeah. I was happy to see Tyrod Taylor get in for a couple of sets because he's one of those guys that I think had the talent, has just been caught in some of the weirdest situations. I mean, getting your lung punctured, before a game, and that's just strange to me. He and Jacoby Brissett are the odd men out, I think. Jacoby Brissett is not a great quarterback, but again, he's just been caught in some bad situations. But those were the two teams that I watched for any real time. The Miami game I didn't really watch that much, so it's just it was the NFL Network. So the only way I was going to mess with them was at the sports bar.
That was state-run TV, that NFL Network, isn't it? That's like, watching something out of
Yeah.
this. Yeah. How about you,
Well,
T-Dog?
Steve Mariucci, I got to give him a heads up. So go ahead, Tom.
You like the mooch?
Hey, mooch.
I will say as a disclaimer, like the one thing that was very odd, and obviously it's been prevalent these last few years, it's interesting like how certain teams address the preseason in completely opposite ways. Some teams have starters out there, and
True.
some teams don't even have second stringers.
They're
They're
not even
third
dressing
stringers.
out, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to evaluate like how good, like, oh, this side looks good. It's like, well, they were playing all their starters versus guys that won't probably make the team. But with that being said, I think Atlanta's offense is looking frisky. Both Marcus Mariota and Ritter have looked good throwing the ball. Kyle Pitts, he it's bizarre that he only had one touchdown when he had 1,000 yards receiving as a quasi tight end who's actually a wide receiver. And their first round pick, albeit he got injured fairly quickly in the first preseason game, Drake London, he showed flash. So like, I think they could be a pretty frisky team. And I don't know if they're going to win a lot of games, but I think they're going to be kind of fun to watch. Obviously, I've already said I'm worried about the Bucks. I think I had them winning like 12 or 13 games. And when I look at the interior of their offensive line, that's where I just go, please, Brady, don't get hurt. Just don't get hurt, Tom Brady. I just don't. I just
Jimmy
think
G. Jimmy G.
Yes, that is true. That ties in.
Waiting.
I think Chiefs and Bills, when you see them, I just feel like they're destined to be meet in the postseason again. They both look like they're just business as usual. I think Patrick Mahomes is throwing 3 touchdowns, and this tight end Jody Fortson, who had an Achilles tear last year, he comes in, he has 2 touchdowns in their second preseason game. So it's like, yeah, that's all they need is another weapon at tight end. And you want to speak about like USFL getting some love.
Yeah.
Their MVP.
Yeah.
Kavonte Turpin. He returned a kick and a punt return touchdown for Cowboys. He got to, take off his helmet. He's made the team.
Yep.
And, again, hopefully he can succeed where my man Jordan Tamu definitely fell short. I like when a spring league guy gets into the pros. Like he hate me, obviously, many moons ago, Tommy Maddox. So, so I'm just saying. And also, special teams, like if you have a great special teams, it can flip 2 games. So I think I had Dallas going 10-0 or 10-7. He maybe flips 2 games where, maybe they're back into winning the East. So I'm just saying, and I just think, I guess my last 2 on defense, I want to point out Javon Kinlaw against the Vikings for the 49ers. I mean, he looks like what he was supposed to be. He was going to replace DeForest Buckner. He feels like it took him a few years, but maybe now he is that. You add to Joey Bosa and Trey Jackson, who they got in the draft. I'm telling you, they're going to be scary. They're going to be probably the scariest front 7, possibly in the league. And Dax Hill for the Bengals, he had 6 tackles and an interception. I mean, you talk about a guy just paying off right away who you draft. And it looks like Bates will possibly come back. So you add Bates for probably just a year, but still Bates, Hill. I mean, they're going to have so much talent on that back end. They're going to be fun to watch. So
All right, I have a note. I think Atlanta, as you mentioned, and I think Detroit will be another surprising, fun to watch, respectable team coming out of this whole thing. And let's hope they are for a change since 56 or whenever that was with Alex Karras. But I really want to talk about is the A team on Fox. Not Joe Buck and Troy Aikman anymore. It's Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson. It doesn't feel like an A team to me. I don't know why, but it's just. It's too clean. It's too squeaky. It's too, hey, KB. I don't know. What do you guys think?
To me, it's like college announcers.
And why is it, though? Why? What are we missing here?
Well, and maybe they'll grow into it, but you don't have that Romo factor.
True.
You know, they don't have it down yet. They need to get their patter down, and both of them are straight guys. They're not. You know, they're not punchline guys. That's what you always had. Is you got to have a guy who sets it up and the one that knocks it down. And right now they're two straight guys.
Because we've had bland people like Summerall, Joe Buck. You know what I mean? Bland. They're setup guys. And then you have a colorful analyst. I mean, even Al Michaels
is
bland.
the best setup guy.
Right.
Just a mini poll. Does J-Boy dislike Joe Buck more than Lugs hates
Kirk Cousins? No, I think that's even. That's pretty even right there.
Okay.
That's pretty even right there. That's pretty bad. You know, I don't know. It just feels it needs some work.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I did not see the game. I have seen games between them, and I will at least give you this. To be fair to Fox, I didn't know if they had a better option.
True.
It clearly felt like, they wanted to retain Buck and Troy if they could.
Caught up with them, didn't it?
But yeah. And, I just think Troy wanted to leave. I don't know what happened, but clearly he got to a point where he just didn't want to be there. And I think Joe didn't want to do broadcasting football games without Troy. Mm-hmm. So I think they were a package deal wherever they were going to go. And I don't think they were going to get the Al Michaels sweepstake. It's with Amazon. Big Ten was able to turn them down. Al Michaels is not going to turn down Amazon.
Plus that free shipping. We forget about free shipping. And he gets Prime for $5 a month. I think he only $5.
Yeah.
Now, and again, I'll admit I'm biased because as much as J-Boy dislikes Buck and as much as Lugs dislikes Kirk Cousins, I'm in it with G-Reg, Greg Olson. I can never hate Greg Olson. Greg Olson could possibly hit me with a car and it breaks my hip, and I'd be like, you know what? That's on me. So my bad. Yeah, my bad. Oh yeah, I was on a sidewalk. I understand.
Yeah,
I should have been in the side.
I was in my garage changing the oil, and yet you hit me.
But so I'm not the best one to evaluate Greg Olson. I think I just respect him because he was a good player, and I know in the offseason he did a lot of things with the NFL Network. Unlike, again, I don't dislike this guy, but unlike Drew Brees, who got paid a lot of money, who didn't really do a lot of media, I think, in the time he was a quarterback. True. To then jumping in, he didn't do like those years of like doing small increments here and there on broadcasting. He just got paid and was like, oh, I'm just going to be awesome at it like I'm a quarterbacking. Not the same skill set.
Not the same.
Yeah. And again, Romo was a good quarterback in the NFL. Maybe he was never as good as Drew Brees, but Drew Brees probably thought that weird transitive effects like, well, I was a better quarterback in the NFL. I'm going to be better than Romo and play-by-play. No, you do not. You do not have that trait.
Well, Romo's just hey, Jim. How's it going, Jim? Hey, Jim. Hey, Jim. He's just a guy.
Yeah.
And he bugs the heck out of Jim Nantz, Slugs, does he?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I love that.
Wears him out. Wears him out.
Pushes him in the corner. Oh, come on, Jim. You're not answering the question. That kind of a thing.
Yeah. The crazy thing is why am I blanking on his name? I think Fox has the guy who should have been their A guy for the guy who does Westwood One on Monday nights. Why am I blanking on his name?
The guy who replaced Tom Brenneman when Tom got in trouble. That guy.
I'm just saying.
Kevin Kugler? Not Kugler.
No, not Kevin Kugler.
Kevin Kugler.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on his name? But anyway, I guess next show we'll get back.
We'll get back to you on that.
He should have been the number one guy because he has personality. Like, he's not only a good play-by-play guy, he can carry the color. And I'm blanking on his name. It doesn't matter. We'll
look it up.
Yeah, I forgot to take my Kinko Beloga today.
But they're both bland. You got Kevin Burkhardt kind of bland, and then in baseball, Joe Buck was doing baseball. Now they got Joe Davis, who's just a whiz kid, but he is also rather, there's a ball outside, 2-0.
Well, guys don't get groomed anymore. Announcers, there was sort of a pattern to where you came from.
True.
But they don't get groomed anymore. It's just like, we're going to try this. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll move on to the next guy till we find him.
Yeah.
I just found it. Kevin Harlan.
Oh,
I
yeah.
apologize to Kevin Harlan. Kevin Harlan would have been spectacular as the egg guy.
CBS guy, though. He's CBS. He's already
That's
booked.
it. That's why. Yeah. Okay.
There's a cat. It's on the field. Right. There he goes.
Yeah.
They should try to steal him then.
He is
They
the
should
most
try to steal him.
excited guy in broadcasting. You're right about that.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for like 30 years, too. All right. Anything else for this broadcast at 41 minutes past the hour?
Well, I just wanted
ahead.
to note, Aaron Rodgers has to keep himself in the news. So, he showed up looking like Poe from Con Air. Somebody left a Nicolas Cage bust in his locker. Nobody knows who. So I kind of like that. That was just so peculiar.
Anything we can do to make his life more miserable and have a bad season, we're rooting for that.
Yeah. And finally,
tonight,
I hate to bring this up, but on this day in 1989, Cincinnati Reds manager Pete Rose accepted a settlement for a lifetime ban from the game because of betting on baseball. And people still say, some say he should be in the Hall of Fame, some say not, because he still's the all-time hits leader. I think you got to put him in the Hall of Fame. His betting didn't have anything to do with his play.
Before he dies, right? Before he croaks?
Yeah, so,
give the boy a break.
Yeah, I mean, he's the cranky dude.
Yep.
But he gave baseball everything he had. So respect the man.
All right. On that note, we'll call it a day. Yes, it's been another episode of Sports and Other Stuff, brought to you in part by Rudy's Furniture Mart. After decades of selling furniture and bedding, everything's got to go. They're having a big sale. It's the final days. Go in there tonight, and our guy's working there right now.
Fish. Now, this week, to celebrate his grandson Devin signing with the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the Canadian Football League, Fish and Devin will co-host a sports call-in show from the dealership. The show is called The Hell You Say. It will feature little-known facts like lacrosse is older than the printing press. The hell you say? Golf was invented before Abraham Lincoln was born, but basketball didn't exist until decades after his death. The hell you say? The first book on figure skating was published before the Declaration of Independence. The hell you say? Call in is this Saturday at 1 p.m. You can congratulate Devin and present the wackiest sports facts you've ever heard. Just dial the hell you say.
Wow. All right. So we guess that's what you should do. If not, just come back next week. We're going to try this again. First in sound, first in service, first in sports. See you next week, and thanks for listening. So long now.
The
Bye-bye.
hell you say?
Yeah, whatever.